Hey you guys, today we're going to be going through some core exercises for people with a bad back, and I'm going to show you some that you should completely avoid. Hey you guys, are you suffering from any kind of back pain? So these 5 exercises are going to gently activate and strengthen the core muscles that are going to help give you a stronger stabilization system, which really is the key with helping you with any part of your workout. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is called a pelvic tilt, and you're just going to need a Swiss ball or a stability ball. I start every workout with this because I had a pretty severe lower back injury years ago, and what I learned is that all my deep core stabilizers were completely shut off. So if those are completely shut off, what's doing all the work? My lower back was. So it finally one day just said, I'm done, I'm not doing it anymore. So I make sure I activate my deep core stabilizers every day, and this is the best exercise for it. You're just going to start on the ground, and these initially you're going to feel like, gosh, I don't feel anything. It's because they could be completely shut off. So it may take some while for you to actually start feeling like you're working anything. Plus, if they're small muscles, you're not going to really feel it, something maybe like working a bicep or your legs. What you're going to do is you're just going to dig your heels into the ball. Your hands are just going to be here, and it's all about a pelvic tilt, a very small movement. So you're just going to lift your hip, and you're just going to think about just a slight rotation. I'm just trying to rotate my hips towards my face. So I'm lifting and just doing a slight rotation. This isn't a hamstring exercise at all. You shouldn't feel this in your hamstrings. You should feel it all just through lifting your hips and just squeezing those really low, deep muscles. So with these, you can start out literally with 8 or 9. I want you to take a rest in between, maybe a 20-second rest. Those muscles down there need a little bit more time to recover. Then you can do 2 more sets of those. So I always start off with these because that's going to get everything activated, and what's that going to do? It's going to take the pressure off of this guy doing all the work. Okay, next we're going to go into a bird dog. This is another great exercise. What's good about these is it's gently going to strengthen our back in through here. Because a lot of exercises, everything's targeted here. So when we're talking about the core, we're talking about everything through here. Okay. You can use a weight or no weight at all, depending on your fitness level. You're just going to start in a tabletop position. The key with this one is just bringing the front hand, the elbow to the knee, and then kicking out to a straight back. We're not going to hyperextend. We're not raising our head. I'm keeping a neutral head, a neutral back. I'm not overextending, like I said. I'm just keeping it to where everything feels basically totally flat to me. Same thing, I'm crunching in, extending out. It's good to give maybe a 5 or 10 second hold. This isn't something you want to just race through. Once again, if you want to add a weight eventually, it's going to look the same. It's just going to give you a little bit more resistance to have to work with. And straight. So what's nice is I'm really feeling those lower back muscles working and strengthening. Okay, with that one, 10 to 12 reps, 3 rounds each side. Okay, next we're going to go into a Swiss ball crunch. All right, so let's get that ball back in here. So what I love about these is that they take a lot of the pressure off of the spine. That's what's so great about these. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit on the ball. You're just going to walk yourself out to where the ball feels like it's at the very top of your butt, to your middle of your back. And you're just going to think about, you can put your hands here, or to make it a little bit harder, you can put them back behind your head. So as you can see, my body's kind of forming to the ball. I'm kind of letting my body relax here. Now the key to this, a lot of times, this is, if your neck isn't conditioned, it could feel like, oh, this is kind of hard on my neck. That's why putting them behind your head, you can hold your head. You're certainly not going to be pulling up with it. I want you to find a spot on the ceiling, because really what we're going to do is we're just going to lift up. So I'm not using my hands to do that. It's all through my front of my abdominals here. So relax and then lift and lower. Lift and lower. This is a great exercise for really getting that nice isometric hold. Lift and lower. So at this one, I would do 10 to 12 reps, 3 rounds, no pressure at all on my back whatsoever. That's what's so great about these. Okay, next we're gonna go into a kneeling plank or just a basic plank. The kneeling plank is gonna be for people who are maybe a little bit more deconditioned or just starting. So what I'm gonna have you do is I'm just gonna have you start on all fours. I'm just gonna have you drop down to your elbows, and then what I'm gonna have you do is just lower your butt down. And you can actually lift your legs up for a little bit more resistance. So I'm just lowering my butt down as far as I can. I'm gonna hold for 20 to 30 seconds. And then to relax that, you can just bring your elbows back in, take a little break, bring your elbows back out, and lower down. Now for people more advanced, all you're gonna do, you're just gonna lift up. We're gonna just go into a basic plank here. But I want you to think about tucking your hips under a little bit. That's gonna help give you that nice flat back. So once again, you can hold for 10 to 20, maybe 20 to 30 seconds, and then just try to eventually get that time up a little bit more each time, and then rest. So as we all know, that's a great one because it's hitting everything. It's really conditioning every part of the core. Okay, next we're gonna go into what's called a band walkout. So what I love about this one is it's completely isometric. There's gonna be no movement whatsoever in your core. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab your band with a handle. Your belly button is your marker. I wanna make sure that this marker here is never going forward or past my belly button mark. So I'm gonna start with this at belly button level. I'm gonna tighten my core the best that I can, really suck that core in. I'm actually kind of rotating my hips under slightly, and now I'm gonna start stepping out until I can't really step anymore before my arms start moving. And the goal is to try to not let this move you either way. It's actually really tough. So we're just stepping out. I'm holding, really feeling a ton of resistance right now, and then I'm just shifting my weight back in. So super great way of strengthening your core, but I'm not doing any damage to my back. My back's not hurting. I'm not doing any kind of rotational movements right now, because a lot of times with back injuries, rotational movements aren't good. So step out, hold for maybe even 5 seconds, 10 seconds if you can. Slowly shuffle back in. Try to do maybe 5 to 6 rounds of that. It's a really good one. Okay, now I've shown you some good examples of what to do. Let me show you maybe 3 examples of not a good idea if you have any kind of back issues. The first one is your basic sit-up. So the problem with the basic sit-up is people think that they're using their core or abdominals to lift themselves up. They're actually a lot of times just using their hip muscles. And the pressure on your discs in your spine when you sit up, it can compress that and make those issues feel a little bit more troublesome. So you're here thinking, okay, I'm just gonna do these sit-ups. And then when you get to the top, it's like, oh boy, that's when that compression can hit. So, ixnay the enay. Okay, next, leg lifts. This is one that I still have issues with even after hurting my back years ago that I have to be really careful with because it was a lower back injury. So what's happening when we start doing a leg lift? We're here. Once we start lifting here, all I feel is that pressure in my lower back. So it's actually kind of painful there. Not so bad here, but once I start lowering down and I get to about right here, boy, that's where all of that pressure is compacted on the lower back of my lower back. So those I'm not a huge fan of. I'd probably skip those. There's other ways you can strengthen your back. The bird dog was a great example of that. The last one is probably the worst one. The lying torso twist, the good old torso twist. And I'm not even gonna show you this in a full range of motion because I don't wanna like throw my back out. So normally you'll see these with people with either their legs, knees bent, and they rotate, and my knees would drop all the way to the ground. So my knees would go that way, or a straight leg, and you shift, and your trunk is staying still, but your lumbar is just being tweaked all the way from side to side. It's actually really dangerous to have your upper body, your trunk, completely stabilized and have your lumbar rotating. It's not a wise movement. I mean, it's important to include rotary training into your movements into your workout, but they're highly beneficial and functional, but only if you're standing. So if you want to do any kind of transverse movements, always make sure you're standing. Because when you're doing a transverse movement, my trunk is moving with me, which is good. When you're on the ground, your trunk is here, but your lumbar is moving without. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, so just really, really be careful because you can really injure yourself doing any kind of movements on the ground that is going to kind of mess with your lower back or your lumbar without your trunk moving. Okay, 5 good ones, 3 avoid. Hopefully these were helpful. I know it can be hard coming back from injuries or different things like that, but take your time. Some of these, like the first one we did, I know they may not feel like they're doing a lot, but they are. Trust me, over time, it really does make a big difference to make sure you have those deep core stabilizers activated and ready to work. Hey, thanks for joining me today, you guys. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram if you're not. Check out Athlean-XX for women.com. Thanks for joining me, and we'll work out soon.